With me now is Forbes Media Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes, Democrat strategist Capri Cafaro, and from Independent Women's Forum, Patrice Lee-Onwuka. Good to see you all. Steve, I got to say, I'm not a big fan of census forms. They've gotten a lot too personal for me over the years. You know, they ask me this, they ask me that. But their main purpose is seeing how many citizens live in a particular area of the country so we can adjust our congressional count vis-a-vis that. But these are citizens. That's their job, is to count citizens. Why is it not proper to ask if somebody answering a census is a citizen?
Well, the Constitution says they want to count people. And so they didn't make the distinction about citizenship. But this gets to your...
But the Constitution, forgive me, and you're better constitutional scholar than I am, but the real point, technically speaking, as to why they wanted to know how many people were living in each area of the country was so they can adjust the number of congressional representatives, right?
That's right. But they did the whole population. Notoriously, they said African Americans were only 3/5 of a person back then. A bad part of the Constitution, which later got amended. But the thing is, you hit the point at the beginning. They ask everything. How many toilets you have in the house, how many cars you have, what your income is, everything else. I just think they should count the people and take all that other junk out. But if they're going to ask all that other stuff, citizenship is a perfectly valid question with all the tens of others they have.
So, Capri, why are your Democratic colleagues so furious about this?
Well, look, let me just kind of couch my answer in saying I get it. I understand why people would want to say, okay, look, you know, we need to know how many citizens there are. You know, they shouldn't be utilizing government resources, whatever the circumstances may be. There was a 2015 or 2016 Supreme Court case actually coming out of Texas that addressed this issue of one person, one vote in the context of congressional redistricting, and they unanimously rejected the one person, one vote, saying we have to count citizens versus, you know, human beings. So I think that the issue here for Democrats, you know, writ large, is generally speaking that, you know, the question of citizenship could depress the responses coming back for the U.S. Census Bureau. I happen to be concerned of a few things. Number one, it came too late to be tested in like the sort of dry run that's happening in a few weeks in Providence, and starting in Providence, Rhode Island. I think that that is going to be, you know, a concern. We haven't had a chance to see how this is actually going to react. And I also we have to remember that, you know, a decade is a very long time. And, you know, there may be significant sea changes within our, you know, within our government. What happens if these people don't fill out the census form, and then later on there's a path to citizenship, and then we have problems with redistricting as well as federal grants?
Understood. Patrice, if I'm here illegally, I apparently have no qualms about saying things that aren't true, because that's the only way that I can survive here if I lie about my citizenship. So what's to prevent me from lying to a census taker and saying, yeah, I'm a citizen?
You're not supposed to lie to a census taker.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to be here illegally.
I agree with you. I mean, I think what's happening is that you have Democrats who are whipping up unfounded fear in immigrant communities. You're going to have legitimate immigrants who are here, you know, legally, who are going to say, oh, well, maybe this is used against my friends. And let's not forget that this information cannot be used by law enforcement or immigration enforcement. So this is really just about kind of a head count of what's going, you know, how many people in this nation are they here? What is their status? Now, I will say there are some positive things, some new additions to the census that I think minority groups should be really happy about. Like me as a black woman, I can talk about I can write in my ethnicity in a way that wasn't, you know, been able to be captured before. So, you know, there's some positives to the census, and I think the question about citizenship is just fine.
I always put other, Steve, when it comes to race. I don't like to tell it, so I put other because, you know, I'm a whole lot of different things. But the bottom line, Steve, call me cynical, but I really believe that what's going on here in the Democratic protests about it is that eventually they are hoping that a lot of these illegals are going to become legal and legal enough to vote. And this is about a vote count. They think that if they provide any kind of benefit at all to illegal aliens right now, they're going to add to their vote count in election time.
Oh, that's their ultimate goal. But in terms of finding out who are immigrants in this country and who are citizens, they've asked questions like that in the past. This is nothing new in the history of the census. But recently, everything now has become politicized. So you ask a question about citizenship, as you say, dozen states are now up in arms about it.
Caprice, isn't there a political goal at the end here where Democrats are, for so many of the immigrant issues that we're going through right now, Democrats really see this as an enlarging of their pool of potential voters in the future? I'm
sure there's some Democrats that feel like that, but here's one thing that I think we need to remember, that, the group of individuals that are undocumented are primarily from, Hispanic and Latino communities, and I think that the assumption that the Hispanic and Latino communities are somehow a voting monolith that will all go Democrat, I think is wrong. And I think that the Republicans actually have an opportunity, particularly in the faith-based communities and the Catholic communities, that to get these voters no different than Democrats. So, I think that if Democrats think that this is going to help them, it may actually backfire.
Interesting. Very good discussion, gang. Thank you very much.